Yes, happy Monday.
Okay, Candace, take it away.
Well, first I'd like to hear what happened to everybody this weekend. Share some of what you did, what some of the results were.
I have something to share. We submitted an offer and just have gotten it in. I feel like it's really a good one. Y'all pray for my buyers. They need this. But I learned something actually from the listing agent, which I thought was really pretty smart. They have everything like in a package. Like they even have the instructions to the attorney. I mean, everything that you would need basically already in there so that you go on and sign it and all of that's taken care of. Like I won't be looking for that later. And I thought that was pretty smart.
I love that. That's called organization and systems.
It was slick. It was really brilliant.
Could I throw something else out there about that?
Yeah, please.
So in an environment like this, if I was the seller, I think that's a great idea. If the only trouble with a system like that is that oftentimes it's used as a way for the seller's agent not to have to communicate with the buyers and their agents, right? And so I wouldn't, if you're a buyer's agent and that packet is available, I would not use that as a substitution for calling that listing agent and still asking all the same questions that we've always talked about, right? Because you don't want to say, oh, I have everything I need, let's just move forward, because you have everything that everyone else has, right? You're trying to find that edge, right? So I think it's a great, I mean, it looks, like you said, it looks very, very impressive, but sometimes like a seller the listing agent wants the call, right? So they can feel out the buyer's agent, they can hear the way they're speaking, they can hear the questions they ask. So sometimes that's really smart. And other times I would say, I probably wouldn't do that just because I want the call.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because this morning, all we're going to talk about is communication. I posted the notes in the PC help chat, but I'm also, Bill, will you let me share screen?
Yep. Hang on one sec.
So I've been reading, let me say, I listen a lot to audiobooks on my way in on my 50-minute to an hour commute every day. And it's a gift of time. And I choose this office because of the leadership that's here and the people that are here. So I pass up a whole bunch of offices on my way here, but this is the one that resonates with me and fits with me. And I use that time. It's just a gift. So I get to listen to books all the time on the way in. I've recently finished The 7 Levels of Communication. And what I love about it is it resonates with Gary Keller's message that our database is our gold mine. Our database is our gold mine. And this is how to, what we're going to.
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay. And this is how we can actually, I know some of you that are newer are focused on growing, or even seasoned are focused on growing your database by door knocking, open houses, golden letters, different things like that. But this is another way to reach into your database, help them, and then grow your database. So we're going to talk all about that this morning.
All right, try it now.
Okay. By the way, we have a guest on this morning, and I just want to introduce ourselves. This is Bill Linkwald, who is the productivity coach here at Roswell, and then gave me the opportunity to come in and be the launch coach. So I work with newer agents. So anyway, welcome. We're glad you're here, Ashley. Okay, can everybody see this screen, the 7 levels of communication?
Yep.
Okay, good. So so what we want to talk about is the overview. The book is really interesting. It's written from the perspective of, or the story of a realtor who's kind of not doing that well because of the market. And then he meets this lender who is doing great when all the other lenders are not doing great. And she gets him hooked up with the Michael Mayer, who wrote the book, and gets him hooked up with one of his coaches. And this is his journey of understanding. So the overview is the more you give, the more comes your way as relationships turn into referrals. And we're going to dig down a little deeper into that. But that just means who can you help today? Who, and not just in real estate, but who in your world has a challenge that you could help? And it also is, for me, what resonated is that this is a way to live more purpose with more purpose. And then the goal, if your goal is to get 50 referrals in the next 12 months, you need to give out 100 referrals. The thing that was funny in the book is that the coach asked the realtor, and he says, how many referrals do you get on a weekly basis? And I just laughed. I was like, referrals on a weekly basis? Is that possible? And the realtor said, well, I get maybe one a month. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. You know, that's doable. But the coach is like, no, you should be getting referrals on a daily basis. And so what you do is you connect people in your database with each other. And there's a whole strategy around this that we'll get into. And it isn't about who you know, it's about how well you know them and who they know. So this is when we talk about digging deep into your database, finding out the names of their kids, their birthdays, their kids' sports, their dogs, what treats their dogs like, what kind of dogs they have, their dogs' birthdays, their families, getting to know your database on a deeper level other than just, oh yeah, we closed that transaction a year ago and I'm going to send you an anniversary card every year. This goes deeper into relationships. So the math, this is kind of exciting, and I've talked about this before. If you have 150 people in your database, National Association of Realtors estimates that the average person moves every 5 years, let's say 5 to 7 years, but we're going to go with 5 for this example. And that means that 1/5 or 30 people would be moving each year out of that 150. That's pretty, I think that's pretty optimistic, but let's go with it because it's exciting. And note, if they buy and sell 2 transactions, that's 60 transactions. If you close just half of that, that would be 30 transactions, which is a pretty great living for just about anybody. And if each person you know also knows 150 people, then you times 150 by 150, that's 22,500 in your community. That's a lot of reach. And if 22,500 are in your reach and 20% of them are moving each year, that means 4,500 people in your community are moving. And if each one buys or sells, that's a potential of 9,000 potential transactions. Is that enough for everybody? Yeah, I can get
enough for me.
Yes, that's enough.
Not for you, Bill. I knew it. Not for you.
No, I said that would definitely be enough for me. You probably never hear from me again.
Yeah, 9,000 transactions. I mean, that looks like a team to me. I don't know that I could handle. I don't know that I can handle a fourth of that, but it's exciting to think about. And if you think about 9,000, I like to always do the math. 9,000 times about the average commission of 10,500. What is that? $90 million?
10,500 times 9,000, you said?
Uh-huh.
That would be $94 million.
$94 million. That would change some lives. That would allow us to change not only our families' lives, our lives, but a lot of other lives. I mean, we could probably wipe out world hunger if each realtor in the world did that many transactions. So now this is how you understand the way to communicate. So does everybody know who Grant Cardone is? He's the 10 times guy. He's a billionaire, and Grant Cardone's kind of a pull himself up by the bootstraps guy, and he's made his money in real estate as an investor. He was recently on the Billionaire. I forgot the name of the title, but it's the Billionaire Next or something like that, where they drop 3 billionaires in towns where they don't know anybody. They don't have any. They give them $100 in an old truck, and they say you have to make $1 million business within 30 days. He actually made a $5-point-some-odd million business in 30 days. And he did that by meeting key people. And when he first went to the town, he had $100. So he went to an RV dealership and he said, hey, could I live in one of your RVs and guard your RV park for a while? And he just, he's a sincere guy. So the guy was like, yeah, you don't have any water, but there's a restaurant across the street. And the guy actually took pity on him that owned the RV park and paid for like $100 worth of meals for him at the diner across the street. So he'd go in there in the bathroom and wash up and then eat his breakfast. But so it's just saying that the reason I bring that up is because I want those of you who are starting new with a limited budget to know you can just about do anything with the right people in your life. And Dustin talked about in his last listing presentation or his last listing workshop, it's not how, but who. So who you know. and how you, and I think how is part of that as well, because how you help them. So here we go. So let's say Grant Cardone is coming to town and you saw a huge ad in the paper. How likely are you to go? And you can take yourself off mute and tell me. You know, I like interaction.
I'd look for a way to get there. If it was on a day that I had another commitment, or it was a price that I couldn't, you know, immediately figure out, I'd figure out how to figure it out.
Okay. And what if you received a jumbo postcard?
Like, honestly, I probably would have known before the postcard came in the mail that he was coming, because I am following people like that and I pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah. And so what if you received this? So this is kind of drilling down to, from an ad to, what if he walked into your office and personally invited you? So the point is that if you saw an ad in the paper to attend something, you may or may not go. With Grant Cardone, yeah, you probably go. That's probably a bad example. But if you received a jumbo postcard, think about this when people are meeting you in your real estate world. So they see a big ad about you in the paper, like say you're Mark Spain, and they see a big ad about you in the paper, and Mark Spain's going to be speaking. Would you be likely to go? And then if he sent you a jumbo postcard and you're a seller, would you be likely to go? What if you received a personal email invitation? Does that make you a little bit more likely to go? And if you received a handwritten invitation from him, what does that look like? And then what if you received a personal phone call or a text? You'd be more likely, you'd be more obligated to go. And then what if he showed up at your office saying, hey, I'm here, I want you to come to see me. I'm going to teach all about real estate. So it explains why there's not a lot of response. Billboards, bus benches, or huge ads are primarily to get yourself known in the marketplace, but they don't necessarily drive business. And that's a kind of a proven fact. We want personal attention, and people want personal attention. So it also explains why door knocking and open houses work to build your database. They get to meet you face to face. You're there personally inviting them. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions or comments so far?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
So that's kind of the difference. This might be controversial here, but that's kind of the difference between putting somebody on a smart plan and expecting them to see your email, not have any questions about Fall Festival, for example, and then showing up with a bunch of people that are going to do real estate sales with you, right? That's the difference between putting somebody on a smart plan and actually calling them.
Yeah, people. This is one thing that those of you know my story. My dad was a motivational speaker, and one of the things he taught me is that people are starved for attention, and there are a lot of invisible people in this world. People who are not that attractive, people who are not that fit. There are a lot of people who don't get touched or don't get attention in this world, and each one of us craves to be noticed. So that's something we can do every day, is just go out there and notice people and pay attention, and then it'll pay back. So here's the communication pyramid. So at the bottom is advertising. Going up the pyramid means you have more impact on someone and the relationship grows stronger. So you start off with advertising, then there's direct mail. You know, these are safer for us. They feel less, they're less scary for those who don't like to get in front of people. Electronic communication, that would be like my video texts, like social media, that would be texting, of course. Handwritten notes is another one. That's a little bit more personal. That's why we talk about writing handwritten notes to your database on a regular basis. Personal notes, right? We're going to get into that a little bit. Phone calls, even more powerful. I called a bunch of people this weekend to invite them to the Fall Festival, and I didn't get anybody. And yet I had messages this morning from about 5 people saying, yes, we're coming. We're so glad you called. We forgot all about it. So that'll give me another opportunity to call right before the Fall Festival in case they forgot again and didn't put it on their calendar to remind them. Then events and seminars, so for those of you who don't have plugged in later, the agents in the office have gotten together, pooled our resources, and we're creating a client appreciation event on October 24th at a park by the river in Roswell. There'll be barbecue, there'll be a photographer, there'll be, I think, a bull riding thing. There'll be face painters for the kids, probably magicians. Anyway, it'll be a fun day. And it's a way to cement your relationship with your clients. And if you don't have clients yet, it's a way to bring people in your database so that they can see what you're about, and it makes them feel special. And then one-on-one meetings is the very last way that you can have a tremendous impact. And also the three lower levels are for information. Use those for informing or updating. So it is appropriate sometimes to, to use these three. It's just, it's not as powerful as using the upper three. The upper three are for influence, convincing, or selling. And now we're going to talk about the art of the handwritten note. I just absolutely love this. The key is you use unbranded cards with a similar monogram that represents you. And remember, you can get real deals on cards with like doors or door knockers, or, just a generic kind of a pretty symbol or a photograph on the front from notecardcafe.com. And remember that this is a personal note. You don't include your business cards or your company logo. You want to use blue ink, of course, because it looks original and positive. And you want to use the word you, but avoid I and me. So be specific in your praise. So it's, hey, you were, I don't know how you don't use me, but it's, hey, you were on my mind. Hey, I was thinking about the last time we got together, and you were so awesome when you did blah, blah, blah. And so you're going to find something about them that you can appreciate, and you're going to write that in your note. If they have a personal characteristic, maybe they're ultra organized and you are not, it's something you want to improve on. You want to express respect for that quality. There's some ideas, so maybe somebody's really generous. Maybe somebody's really balanced in their life. Maybe somebody handles drama well. Whatever it is, just find that thing that you can write about. And it goes back to our, remember when we did the gratitude? I can tell you, I got a gratitude text from somebody and it made me cry. It was so just unexpected and surprising and delighting that somebody had thought that they were grateful for me, and it was huge. So we can do that for other people, is my point. When you write the text, you want to go slightly upward from left to right. And there's a resource, Handwriting Can Change Your Life by Vimela Rogers. And I can tell you, there was a time, I'm an artist, and my typical writing was really messy, but I started printing all my words. And I started getting into my business brain, and I started losing my creative brain. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to tap into my creative brain a little bit. So I started writing my handwriting that I used to write. And sure enough, I was able to access my creative brain and come up with more ideas for painting. So you can change your handwriting, but in this particular way, from left to right, it indicates positivity. People like that. Use the power of a PS. I used to think PSs meant that you couldn't get your thoughts in, and it was an unorganized way to write a letter. But PSs are call to actions. Use them as call to actions. Ask the recipient to take actions such as emailing or calling. And we're going to get into some examples of that. And write the notes to everyone you know. Pick up a business card, look in your email, look in your database. Find a person, identify the positive characteristics to acknowledge, and write the note. And the challenge for this week is to write at least 50 notes with a compelling PS. 10 per day, that's just 10 per day. And if you write them on a postcard, that's 3 or 4 sentences. Doesn't have to be a lengthy letter.
Wait, let's repeat that, Candace.
Yep. So the challenge this week is write at least 50 notes with a compelling postscript this week, and that's 10 per day. The first step you have to do is go get your note cards. I get mine at Office Depot, and I'll show you.
Candace, can you give examples of the PS? I missed that. Of a compelling PS.
So my compelling PS would be, it would be something like, hey, give me a call, let's get together. Can you get together next Tuesday or Wednesday? Or hey, I'd love to catch up. Give me a call so we can find a time to catch up. Oh, I can't talk that.
It could even be things like, it's so great to see, the graduation picture of you and your daughter or something like that. I mean, it could be any little kind of personalized message. This, by the way, is an example of a card. I don't know if you guys can see this, that you can buy from Note Card Cafe. It's an unbranded card, but it does have like a little bit of a house theme to it. Like this one just has a bunch of different style doors on the front. See that? And inside it's completely blank. So it doesn't.
And that's from Note Card Cafe, is that what you said?
Yeah, I'll post the link here in a second.
And they're like 33 cents a card. I mean, they're really inexpensive.
I love that.
And then these are the ones I use. I have a problem with these. I write them. I didn't know that they weren't fold over cards when I got them. And I always feel cheated when I open an envelope and it's not a fold over card. So I'm using these up, but I got these at Office Depot if you're in a hurry. And they come with different, some of them have a butterfly, some of them have a little fern on it. So anyway, but just so you can get started, don't let ordering your cards stop you from doing the challenge this week, because it will drive your business. So your postscript is a call to action to get together with them, right? To have a phone call, to have a meeting, because remember, phone calls are in the upper part. We want to have phone calls, events, and seminars, and we want one-on-one meetings. Okay. Let's see here.
I'll make an offer to anybody. Can I make an offer?
Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
Please.
Go
ahead, Bill. Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Go, Bill.
Okay, so I have, see how many I have here? Anybody who adds somebody to their database this week, I'll give you the card and the envelope to write them a note. You got to come in though. Is that fair? All right.
Love that. Thank you, Bill.
That's fair.
So phone calls, I know we've dealt with this a lot in productivity coaching, that people have call reluctance. It's like, oh, I don't want to bother them. They're at work. Oh, I don't want to call that for sale by owner or that expired person because they're going to yell at me. Well, that's focusing on yourself, right? That's what am I going to feel about this? But what we can do to change that is to focus on the person and their needs. If we have an attitude of coming from contribution, like I'm gonna call this person and see what's going on in their life. I want to see if they are doing okay, or if they need anything that I could potentially help with. So you take yourself out of the equation, it makes it a lot easier. And then the first and 10 calls. Now, the rule of this is do these as soon as you start work each day. So I would say right after you get off the huddle, you call people you're showing houses to that week, referral sources, cooperating agents, recent networking contacts, potential clients. You get your 10 calls done. Why are you calling? Call with a servant heart. Do they need a recommendation for a vendor, a job, something for their kids? And take time after the call to send them what they need. So when you block your time for these 10 calls, whether it's an hour, because you're going to have conversations, hopefully you want to block some time to make sure that you do what you say you're going to do. And you know, on our daily success tracker, it has a place at the very bottom that says promises made. And that's because as we go through our life, as we go through our days, somebody will, it's kind of like when I was a flight attendant and somebody rings their call button and you go to that call button and they say, oh, can I have a Coke? And on your way to the galley to get the Coke, 5 other people ask you, somebody asks you for a pillow, somebody asks you for headphones, somebody asks you for a blanket, somebody else asks you for a ginger ale, somebody asks if they could move their seat. By the time you get to the galley, you've forgotten the Coke. So write it down so you can do what you promise you're going to do, say you're going to do. And then when calling, forget about thinking of how this person can help grow your business. If that comes up, that's okay, but try to have one action item to help them with. Find something you can do for them by the end of the call. And it doesn't have to be real estate related. It could be, you know, I like to cook. So it could be that I call one of my friends and they're like, you know, and I'm like, hey, what are you cooking these days for dinner? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm so bored with my food. And I'm like, hey, I just tried this recipe. You want me to send it to you? Giving them something of value. They start to equate you with somebody who provides value, and that's what we want to do. All right, and then hour of power, 4 hours minimum per week for focused phone calls to people in your database. We use the DTD2, which is a system that allows us to either call by the first letter of the first name or the first letter of the last name, and then we have the weeks are broken down. And if you're not familiar with DTD2, you can Google Keller Williams DTD2, and it'll tell you week 1, you're going to call everybody whose last name ends with an A or a W, and you're going to text somebody with a Q in their name, or whose name starts with a Q.
Thank you so much for reading my email, Candace.
You're welcome. I do every week.
I know you do.
It's full of, by the way, if you don't read Bill's email, please do, because There are some repetitive things in there that we need to see because they're links to resources, but there are also new things in there pretty much every week, and sometimes some hidden gems. So it's a good practice to get into.
So wait, it's A and W, and then we're texting people with T, right? So if
T,
somebody,
yes,
let's use last names, for example.
Yeah.
If somebody's last name that's in your database ends in A as in apple or W as in water, they get a call from you this week. And if somebody in your database has a last name that ends in T as in Tom, they get a text from you this week. And if you commit to this system, what'll end up happening is you will therefore speak to each person in your database, or at least attempt to speak to each person in your database once every quarter.
And
I have text R, not T.
Well, if it's in the email, you're right.
Oh, did I mess up?
It says A and W and text R.
Okay, that's what it is then. Thank you. So if the
person's
last name ends in R, if the person's last name ends in R, they get a text from you this week.
Yeah.
And just like Candace suggested, you want to try to make it personal, right? Mention their name, right? Say something about what's going on in their life that you might have, seen on social media, or a quality that they have. I was just thinking about you today, and I just want to, express my gratitude for you being such a good listener, right? Or you always post those positive thoughts online. I really admire that. Something like that, right?
That's absolutely it. And I would say time block your hour of power. So 4 hours minimum to get those calls done. I know sometimes you have people, I know in my database, there seems to be a whole lot of people whose last names end with S. So those weeks are heavier for me. But that's okay. You just get them done. That's the most important thing. And you can also call people. So we use the DTD2 for our database, but you can also call coworkers, former coworkers, networking contacts. If you're doing any networking, friends, family, think of everyone you don't have to call, but you should. And that doesn't include returning phone calls that somebody's called you. And then also try and improve with your phone calls. It's just like anything else. We're practicing a skill of communication. And I remember reading that Ronald Reagan was deathly afraid. He was terrible at communication. People wrote lines for him and he acted them, right? But he realized that as president, he was going to have, whether you liked him or not, he was going to have to become somebody who could communicate. And he studied and worked on that skill to the end where they called him the great communicator. I mean, he mastered it. So we can get better as well. So rank yourself after each call, 0 to 10. 0 means they hung up on you. And 10 is like reconnecting with your best friend. The goal is to have people excited to see your phone number on their screen. Referral etiquette. So now when somebody refers you to another, keep them in the loop at all stages. This is something I see in real estate a lot. When I refer somebody to another agent, maybe because it's commercial and I don't do commercial and I never hear anything back, and I have to be the one who always says, hey, did you get in touch with, hey, what's going on? It's probably not a situation where I'll do another referral to that agent, because my thing is we want to anticipate what people need before they need it, and then not wait till they have to ask. In real estate, if we wait until they've had to ask, like, hey, did you get any feedback from that showing, before you said, hey, even if you didn't get feedback, you call the seller and you say, hey, I haven't gotten any feedback yet, but I'm on it. I'm texting, I'm voicemailing, leaving voicemails for this agent. If there's feedback to be had, I'll get it. Then they know you're thinking about them. But if they have to ask, then they think you've spent Sunday kind of watching TV and not doing anything. So when somebody refers you to another, keep them in the loop at all stages. Now, what we're talking about in the 7 levels of communication. So for instance, you have somebody that named Joe, who introduced Jeff, who maybe is a contractor, who introduced you to Cindy, who is a mortgage person, who introduced you to Janet, who needs to buy a house. Well, you'd call Cindy with an update on Janet, then you'd call Jeff to express appreciation for connecting you to Cindy. Then you would call Joe to let him know what has happened. It's a strategy that has enormous power because it brings everybody together with you at the hub of the wheel. And that means you're creating kind of a little tribe there, a little mini tribe. And when you start to do that, those people are going to become your referral partners. It's just incredibly powerful. Okay, then we're going to talk about events and meetings. So these are some ideas. You can attend a seminar or a live event with somebody, pay for their ticket if it's not too expensive and you can afford it. If it's something that maybe it's I know for me, if anybody invited me to a Taste of Atlanta or a cooking show or anything like that, I would go in a heartbeat. Attend a networking event. And getting ready for a networking event, these are some pro tips here. Look at the website to find out who's in charge of membership and call them. And then ask the chairperson a couple of questions. Will the introductions be formal or informal? Is it going to be like a networking event where everybody's mingling, that kind of thing? Or is it going to be where there's a panel and people in the audience kind of thing? And what are the names of the top 3 or 4 people you should meet, the most influential people? Now, when you call this chairperson, you're going to find a way to help that chairperson. You're not going to just call and say, gimme, gimme, gimme. You're going to say, hey, I'm coming to the networking event. I'd love to know what I can do for you. And oh, by the way, who are some of the top 3 or 4 people that I should meet while I'm there? I'd love to know. And also, would you mind introducing them to me? That's how you're going to ask that question. But you're first going to come from a place of contribution. Because I can tell you, if you're a chairperson organizing an event, you have a lot of people pulling on you. You don't want to be known as that person. Go to research the people whose names you were given, so you know what to say to them. And I was thinking about this with the Fall Festival. I've invited a lot of people that I haven't connected with that are coming in a long time. So I've created some index cards that I'm going to carry with me so that I can refresh myself when I see them. That, with their kids, I mean, if they've got 5 kids and I remember 2 of them, I want to remember all 5 kids' names, right? So I've created some index cards for reference so that I can know who they are. Okay, and then when you go to the event, go with the spirit of helpfulness, truly, get there 30 minutes early, see if there's anything you can do. Wear your name badge on the right side, so when you shake hands, your name badge goes front and center. It's easy to read. It's hard when there's a lot of noise in a networking event and you have a soft voice like mine and you say, hey, my name's Candace Story, and they hear Lori. And then forever after that night, they're like, is her name Lori? So make sure that you have to talk with your business voice, which is more projected. And you also want to make sure they see your name tag so they can have a visual reference to your name. Introduce yourself to the meeting organizer and remind them of your questions and their commitment. Also, be respectful if they're ultra busy. Just politely say, you mentioned I should meet so-and-so, and let me know a convenient time and I'll come back. There's 2 things we use, frog or forward. They're basically the same things. Frog is asking about family, recreation, occupation, or goals. And forward is family, occupation, recreation, and dream. Basically the same thing, whichever one you use. Have an elevator.
A lot of times, one of the ideas that I've been taught is that the goals, the frog, is sometimes more applicable to like a business owner, right? Or more oftentimes of like a business type conversation. And then dreams or D for forward is oftentimes more of a personalized conversation. Maybe it's not so much kind of a business talk, if you will.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that. By the way, does anybody have any comments or any questions so far? Okay. All right. Well, if you do, just speak up. Have an elevator speech for when they ask you what you do, consult, negotiate, manage fears, manage tears, whatever it is that you say. And have a follow-up strategy to write power notes to everyone you meet. The handwritten notes cements you in their memory. Gosh, I hope we can get through all this today. This might have to be a, let me see where I am.
We got forever.
Okay.
We're in this for the long game, right?
Okay. Okay, good. Get my mouse.
Candace, are you going to email this or?
It's in the PC help, but I'll email it to anybody who sends me a request.
Thank you.
One-on-one meetings, these are the most important events on your schedule, and this is really important to prepare for them. That means researching the people before you meet them, especially in the case of someone referred to you. When you meet with them, remember the frog or the forward, about them, not you, And I know when I'm nervous, I tend to talk all about myself because it's just so comfortable and I hate those silences. But I had to learn to sit back and go, oh, stop that and just listen and ask questions. And after a while, when you practice that, it gets a lot more comfortable. And then you really can learn about other people. End your meeting with questions. How can I help you? And what can I do for you today? Leave every meeting with an action item to get done by the end of the day. Fabiola, I know you're meeting with people every week for your breakfast. This is a good section for you. Send a power note as a follow-up. You know, thank you so much for meeting. It was just great to hear everything that's going on in your life. Oh, by the way, I have an event coming up, the Fall Festival. Love for you to come. Oh, by the way, I'm getting together with a group of women or a group of people for a monthly breakfast meeting. Then you're connecting everybody, right? Take a gift to the meetings. Take the MREA book or another book that might be appropriate for them. Create a networking stack. So this is really a great idea. And I know Andy Peters, who's operating partner for the 3 offices that are in the Georgia Legacy Group. He likes, is it Hugo's Oyster Place up on Alpharetta or Highway 9? Anyway, create a networking stack. You make a restaurant or coffee shop your go-to. Become a regular, tip 25%, get to know the staff, get to know what their families are, know their dogs' names, know their birthdays. They are people in your database, right? Treat them like VIPs and make sure that so when you can go in, you can say, hey, in the book, it's, hey, Catherine, I'm so excited for you. And then when she introduces the person, the Michelle, who's meeting the realtor, when she introduces the realtor to the hostess, Michelle, she says, or Karen, she says, oh, by the way, Karen's son just got a scholarship to UGA for basketball. Isn't that fantastic? So she's already making that person feel important. She's letting this person know that she values this person. So she's connecting them in that way. Let's see, stack appointments. So when you start a mid-morning coffee, you start with mid-morning, you spend a day doing this. You follow with another person for lunch and then networking meetings at the same restaurant. So for instance, if I'm meeting a lender for coffee in the morning, I might be meeting a buyer for lunch. I'm going to overlap so that the lender meets the buyer. Maybe it's a closing attorney meeting a lender. Maybe it's a contractor meeting somebody who provides, somebody from like Stoneworks of Georgia. Maybe that's where I'm going. And they don't all have to be related, but you're letting them meet each other because again, you're the hub and you're building this database that's the wheel. Try to schedule appointments so that when they meet, they might actually help each other. That's the ideal situation. And then referral generating questions. These are really important. These are questions you ask people. What is your biggest challenge right now? Don't ever guess, don't assume, just ask. What have you tried so far? And that's important so you don't suggest what they've already tried. I know a lot of us are problem solvers and it gets reinforced in real estate because that's what we do is solve problems. The worst thing we can do, or not the worst thing, but not a great thing we can do is to solve something for somebody and then they go, oh yeah, I already tried that. Then you're kind of just like, oh, I didn't listen. They know I didn't listen. I didn't ask enough questions. So just ask them what they've tried so far. What are you going to do next? The answer is inside of them, and it shows a form of respect instead of trying to solve it again. Even if through talking they self-solve it, you will have been involved and that perception will be there for them. And then when they want to reciprocate and ask how they can help you, let them know that you can move anyone from anywhere. Who do they know who's looking to move, or give them specific clients or things they can help you with. If you have a specific niche like divorce, you can say, you know, I'm looking to help people who are going through a divorce or whatever it is that you want them to help you with in your particular business. And then utilizing success stories. This is really powerful. Write 12 success stories, one for each month. Use 7 steps for the success story. What was the client's name and situation? Be specific about the problem or challenge. For instance, I'll say when I have sellers who, okay, so Tiana and Derek bought a home a couple of years ago and they really couldn't afford it. So they ended up renting it out and renting a place for themselves. It was a little too expensive. And when I met Tiana and Derek, they had just had a baby and they were kind of beside themselves because they had too much too much with the house and the rent and everything. And so I offered to help them sell the home, and using strategies that were applicable to their home, I was able to get them much more than any other home had sold for in that neighborhood. And they walked away from that closing table with $30,000, which changed their lives. And they actually were in tears at the closing table. That's a true story. I could write that as a success story. What would have happened if you weren't involved? Well, they had other friends who were realtors, but I know that nobody had the kind of commitment to them to help them with what they needed, much more so than the transaction. So buying or selling a home that would be hard to sell, maybe if they didn't use you, they would end up buying a home on a busy street that's hard to sell, like the one I've got right now that I didn't help them buy. How did you help them solve the problem? Did you educate them? What was the result? Be specific, tell a story. Now, this doesn't always have to be about real estate. This could be in like your kids' lives. This could be in somebody at your school's lives. Maybe it was a bullying situation, but you want a success story of some sort. And then what did the clients do or say to indicate they were pleased with your efforts, and include the testimonial, or that they referred you to somebody if that happened. Ask if you can use their photo in the success story, much more powerful, or ask them if they would do a video testimonial for you. That's also very, very powerful. Use the success stories in your email and other marketing and follow-up plan. So you would send this out to your database like once a month. That would be kind of the goal of that, to just say, hey, I wanted to tell you a story. I thought you all might be interested. This is the story of so-and-so and so-and-so, and this is what happened, and this is what we did. And they start to realize that you're somebody that they can trust and count on to help them with their problems, and specifically real estate problems. Follow-up, I didn't get much into this because our 36 touch is in alignment with the 7 levels of follow-up. It's basically, you want to touch somebody in a specific way, like 2 client events, 4 times one-on-one meetings, the quarterly calls, emails, texts. So our 36 touch program is already in alignment with it. And then Google Alerts, I loved this. You can set up a Google Alert, and if you don't know how to do it, just Google how to set up a Google Alert for the name of those you want to stay in contact with. It's similar to old days when you see a friend or a client's name in the paper, you'd clip it and send a note. Well, you also want to set a Google Alert for their hobbies or passions and send them articles about those topics in moderation and be selective. I have an uncle who has now passed away, but when he retired, all he would do is send funny political things, and there were like 10 a day, which was just too much because he had a lot of time on his hands. So we want to be respectful, be selective. If they only like baking, don't send them savory cooking things. Most people are on information overload, and so just make sure it's a good fit. And then the blessing book. I absolutely just love this. Mine is verbal and written. But each morning write 5 things you're grateful for. This morning I was grateful for my life. I was grateful for my husband. I was grateful for the rain that makes everything new and green. And I was grateful for having a place to come and be able to be of help to people. And I was grateful for an opportunity to earn income for my family. And so write your positive affirmations each day as well. So 5 things you're grateful for, 5 positive affirmations, or some positive affirmations. Anthony did I don't know if Anthony's on here this morning, but the other day on the Huddle, he absolutely just rocked it with his affirmations, and it made a huge difference for him. And then there's something called the Rainmaker's affirmation, and this is something I hope each and every one of us says every day. And it says, each and every day, someone somewhere in my city needs my services. My job today is to find that person, because that is so true. That is so true. So write that affirmation, say it every single day, say it multiple times a day, put it on a Post-it note, write it on different Post-it notes, put it everywhere you can see it, so that you stay in that solution-based mentality and helpful mentality. And then this is the other thing, to create a sense of urgency, because it's really easy when you're out there on your own to go, oh, I'm going to get to that later. I'm going to get to that later. But if you, in the book, they have a rubber bracelet, and you have to say to yourself 49 times, 3 times a day, do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Say that 49 times and do that 3 times a day. And after a while, your subconscious is going to start saying, when you get something going on, it's going to be, do it now, call that lead now, call that referral now. Don't wait because you're uncomfortable. Do it now. That was a powerful one. So your vision exercise for time, write out your perfect workday. And I think we should do a workshop around this. Write out your, where did I go? Here we go. Write out your perfect workday after imagining what it looks like, and write it from waking until you go to bed. So in the morning you get up, maybe your perfect workday, it looks like you get up, you have a cup of coffee on the deck, looking at nature, watching the ducks on a lake. And then maybe you do your affirmations and your gratitude, and then you get to work. You know, you do your power and 10 calls, you do the morning huddle, you do the power and 10 calls. It's all whatever your perfect day looks like, write it out so you know what it looks like. Break it down hour by hour and describe exactly what you're doing on your perfect work day. And then this is really important. 80% of our time needs to be in the influential zone, either on the phone or in front of people. I'm going to repeat that. 80% of our time needs to be in the influential zone, which is on the phone or in front of people. That requires time blocking, and it also requires us getting out of our comfort zone in some cases. Schedule times.
Let's repeat that one more time too.
80% of our time needs to be in the influential zone, on the phone or in front of people. That's how we make deals happen. That's how we make transactions happen. That's how we live big lives. But that requires time blocking. It's so easy to get distracted by emails, or this person's saying this, or this person texting you. You've got to time block it and focus. Schedule time to return phone calls and emails. Some people do that from 11 to 4, then an hour of open time for catch up, to take a walk, to refresh. You know, I use the Pomodoro app, which is the focus timer. It gives you 25 minutes and then gives you 25 minutes of focus. The alarm goes off and you get 5 minutes for a break. You repeat that one more time, and on the third time you get a 15-minute break. It lets me know there's a reward coming for my hard work. Schedule at least 4 hours per week for focused phone calls to people in your database. Think of it as your hour of power. You know, that's when you start to get your energy around it. Think of it as your hour of power. And your first and 10 calls. First thing when you start working, people you're showing homes to, networking contacts, team members, potential clients. Pro tip: write the names and numbers and reasons for these calls during your pre-leave ritual, which is the day before, so you'll be ready for the next day. And by the way, this planning can be outsourced to an assistant at a certain time. And then there are 4 rituals. We talk a lot about the morning ritual because it sets you up for your day. I've talked about this so many times. When you get up, prime yourself for being positive in the day, being somebody who's going to help people. If you turn on the news and sit there with your coffee and your posture starts going like that, it's because you're starting to fill your mind with dread and fear and problems and anger in some cases. So pump yourself up with positivity in the morning. That can look like whatever it is for you. In this case, it's writing your gratitudes and saying your affirmations. I like to listen to a motivational video on YouTube as I'm getting dressed. There are just some powerful ones out there. Makes you feel like you can just do anything. Pre-leave ritual. This is getting prepared for the next day, making sure your desk is fairly clear, making sure you've got the names of those people you're going to call, so you're not waking up going, what do I do today? Pre-sleep ritual. I just started adding this in because I'm not a good sleeper. I don't know about some of you, but instead of being on my smartphone, which is the blue light that's so bad for us when we try to go to sleep, just read. I do visualization, review goals, pray, and you can stretch. Sunday night ritual, look at the next week's entire schedule, get clothes ready, arrange in the closet so no time is wasted on thinking about it. You can do this for your kids too, unless your kids are the kind that are like, I'm going to wear 2 hats to school today, Mom, and I'm wearing my tutu with my cowboy boots. If that's your kid, you probably can't do this. That's okay. Marketer to communicator. That's kind of going from entrepreneur to purposeful, which we talk about a lot. Build a community by staying in the influential zone. Grade your database. And here's how you grade them. A+ are ambassadors. They refer multiple times or do business with you multiple times. A is a champion. They refer about once a year. You can move them to ambassadors. B is a potential champion. You can move them to champions. C are friends and families. They don't send you business. We've all experienced this. They love you and they want you to do well, but for some reason they remember you when you were in diapers, or they remember you at a party and they don't want to send you business for whatever reason. They just don't. D's have never sent you business and they won't. And so D, just delete them from your database so you can focus on the A+, the A, the B's. And then your friends and family you focus on because you love them. Communication plan. So ambassadors deserve the most communication. Call them once a month or set up a meeting once a month, or meet quarterly at your restaurant or coffee shop. Really pour into them. Eventually create a board of advisors with ambassadors and ask them how you can improve their service. This is something my current coach is having me do, is to reach out to people that are in my niche and ask them a series of questions about the problems that they have, the needs that they have, so that I can develop a better level of service for them. And I ask them, what does that service look like? Is it one-stop shop? What can I do to make it easier for you? And they all have ideas around that. So asking those questions instead of trying to, it's to me kind of the same thing as if you've ever been in corporate and those that are up here are making decisions for those who are down here and thinking they understand what these people are trying to do for the people they're servicing. There's a disconnect there. So if we get down into it and we actually reach out to the people we're doing business with and find out what their needs are, we can make really dramatic changes to our business that are much more beneficial. Champions, make sure they're on a quarterly call. B's, send them your guaranteed response email. And the guaranteed response email looks like this. I just copied this one. This is what you send to B's. Hey, I have a few specific questions for you. And that's the subject. The body is, hope all is well. Wanted to touch base. I have a couple of specific questions for you. Could you please call me at your earliest free moment at da-da-da-da-da. It's not an emergency, but when you have a second, please give me a call. I promise to only take a minute or two of your time. Thank you in advance. Talk to you soon. P.S. If somebody else answers, please let them know I need to talk to you. Thank you. All day long. That's attention, right? You want to call and find out what it is. We can't stand not to know. The other thing I'd say is if you say you're only going to take a minute or two of their time, only take a minute or two of their time. There's nothing worse than somebody saying, I need a minute. And then 15 minutes later, you're like, I got to get off this phone call. And sorry for you, those of you that this ran over this morning. It doesn't always. But when they call you, ask what they're doing, what's new in their lives, then use the Am I the Chosen One script. And we'll get into that as well. And that's just if you were going to do a real estate transaction, would you choose me to do that? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
Right. That's kind of the question number 3 on the 3 ask script, which is when you think about real estate, who is it that you trust?
Yes.
Right. That makes it a little bit more about them rather than you. Like, would I get the business? Would I get paid? Right. It's more like when you think of real estate, who is it that you trust? Because they might think of somebody when they think of real estate, but they don't trust them. Or they might be thinking about a previous realtor that they had a poor experience with, and they're looking for a new one. And then when they tell you that they don't have one, or they stumble over the person's name because they can't remember and they don't follow up with them enough, then you could say then you can be kind of direct and say, hey, I'd love an opportunity to earn that responsibility. What is it that you need? What is it that you would like me to do for you today?
Yeah, that's a better way to ask it for sure. And then you want to go from, we're almost here, you want to go from relationship to referral scripts. So the great people script is, hey, I know how important your time is these days. I'm looking to grow my business and I want to grow my business with great people like you. Something I found is that great people tend to know great people, which is true. So with that in mind, out of all the people you know, who is the next person you know who will be buying or selling or investing in real estate? Practice makes it more natural to say that. And after you ask them, give them time to answer. Don't be afraid of silence in the conversation. Let the silence help you. So many people get uncomfortable and feel compelled to say something, but just sit back and listen. And I know in our coachings, I think it was Holly Prescott who said that when she asks for a response and there's no response coming because a lot of people are on mute and they just haven't had their coffee in the morning yet, that she'll sit back and go, I've got time. And then she just waits. So I haven't quite mastered that, but I'm on my way, so watch out. The reticular activating system, or the RAS script. I would Google what reticular activating system is because I can't remember it right now. Oh yeah, so it's when
basically
you buy a car.
It's something in your, it's basically what you focus on, right? So let's say you're car shopping and you're trying to decide if you want like a, you know, a blue car or a red car or something like that. Or let's say you're thinking about buying a red car, you start noticing more red cars, right? It's a brain concept basically that helps you understand, like, for example, there's like 128 million or something like that facts that are coming at you every second, right? Everything from, is it bright? Is it dark? Is it loud? Is it not loud? You know, what color are the walls? Where am I? Am I comfortable? Am I not comfortable? Like all these kind of things. And you can only process, like, I think it's 27 per second, right? So like me and you could be sitting in a room for 30 minutes talking. And then when we part ways, I would say, what color was the wall? And you might not be able to answer, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. Okay, I want to make a quick announcement while Candace is getting her charger. Actually, Candace, I might need you to help me with this, but we have a new vendor partner. In addition to the Piedmont Closing Company, who we ought to know does contract to close work and some basic marketing, and gives the Roswell PC people a pretty large discount for doing so. Candace has been incredibly instrumental in speaking with our newest vendor, and we're going to have a similar relationship. So they are not exclusive to us, but they offer an exclusive price to us. Candace, do you have that information in front of you now by chance?
I can get to it. It's Emoto Photo is offering us a discount. Instead of 120, there's some other things around it, but instead of $175 for 25 photos, for those in PC, it'll be $135. They're also offering discounts on the Twilight virtual photography and not the drone, but let me think what it is. 1 second, I didn't have my email pulled up, but I can get to it pretty quickly.
Sorry about that.
I'll post that in the chat just so we don't take more time, but I'll post that in the chat. But anyway, it's a way for you to save money for your photographs. Okay, and then so in real estate, it looks like this. Mr. and Mrs. Client, now that you're buying a house, you have supersonic hearing and X-ray vision for real estate, which is true. You know, you're going to notice that dozens of people around you are buying, selling, or investing. I ask you, when you see, hear, or meet a person who mentions real estate, that you give them my card or my name, give me a call. My promise to you is that I will respond quickly to determine how I can help them. Would you do that for me, please? And I think I like to combine that with the promise that we use in listings, or I think we can use it in buyers too, which is, or I know we can because I have, but it's where I promise to do this level of service, to do these particular things. And in response, you promise to give me at least one referral when I do those things before the end of the transaction. And it has to do with this reticular activating system, because you are hyper aware of people who are buying or selling when you are. Ask specific and relevant referrals. Who is a person you know buying their first time home? Could be a renter or even a son or daughter of someone you know. Call to action, use a sentence like, please reply to this email with the name and their situation. I promise they'll get excellent service that they deserve. And then the last thing is the DISC. Try to understand the main personality type of your database and make notes so you know how to speak with them when you call. So for instance, if I'm working with a buyer and my buyer is a high D, I know that they don't have a lot of time for details. They don't like it. They just want the bottom line. So I'm going to call and say, hey, Joe, I found a house for you. Give me a call. It's perfect, right? That's how I'm going to call that person. If it's an I, I'm going to be like, ooh, I found the best home. It's got this backyard. You're going to love entertaining back there. It's just everything you said you wanted. Can't wait for you to see it. If I call an S, I'm going to be more like, I found a home that has a lot of what you were talking about. I think you need to see it. Like, can you see it tomorrow? You're going to be able to take care of your kids there. You're going to be able to, really build some memories there. And if it's a C, I'm going to be like, hey, I found the home. It's 2,500 square feet. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. The lot size is 3/4 of an acre. It has a Nest thermostat, I'm going to get into the details with that S person because that's what they like. So when I talk to the people and you get really good at this, and it takes a little practice before you make the phone call and making notes about that person so you can actually get that good at it. But you'll have a lot more response when you're able to do that. And then and what they say is buying or selling brings out everyone's inner C, which is the compliance, right? That's the DISC. Those are the people who like the details, right? So, but when you're spending that much money buying or selling a home, or you're dealing with that much money, it brings out that need for those details. The bigger the purchase, the more attention to details. And then there's a couple of groups you can join for the 7 levels of communication. And one of them, I couldn't get to the link, but it's the Facebook Generosity Generation. And then the other one is a group of people that I put together. Any questions, any comments?
Candace, I was maybe just going to share that I was watching a Tom Ferry video this morning, and something that they were sharing 15 ideas that are working right now. And something that this made me think of was there's this concept of a CMA a day. So you would send out one CMA to someone in your sphere. So maybe you use our the TD2 system, but send a CMA a day that just says, I'll call you in the next 48 hours or 24 hours to answer any questions you might have. After you send that email, you would also send them a video text just saying, hey, I just sent you an email. I know you probably get a lot, but this is, something I think you should see, and I would love to talk about it later. And then when you call them that next 24, 48 hours, it's really just a conversation. And maybe it's, what are your plans in the next 2 years for the house or something like that. So I feel like that's just a little maybe easier for some people. I know me, I like to kind of like fish with the email first. And, but this I thought was a good way to kind of get 3 touches within 2 or 3 days.
I love
and
that
providing
idea.
something of value.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not asking for anything. You're literally just initiating a conversation.
And because it's about real estate, that kind of counts as a contact, right, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course.
I love that. Thank you, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any comments, questions? Was this helpful?
Yeah, sure was. I'm looking forward to reading the whole book, 7 Levels of Communication book.
You've read it?
No, I just got it.
Oh, you just got it. Oh, good, good. It's a really easy read. I'll just say, if you don't do, this is what Aubrey always says, and I think it's so important. If you just take one thing from here, you don't have to do it all, right? It's kind of drinking from a fire hose. But if you maybe did one thing for a week and then add in something else the next week, maybe one week you did the power notes, and the next week you did the phone calls, and then the next week you added in the guaranteed email, the guaranteed response email. Just pick what you want to start with and just start. That's the most important thing. Because learning about it without action is what?
Entertainment.
Thank you.
Candace, this is, it's very, very obvious that you spent lots of time preparing today. So thank you. Just like she said, just pick something in here and get it done, right? Let's move up the triangle of influence. And of course, if you have any follow-up questions at any point, feel free to reach out to us. The reporting day for the first week in October will be this upcoming Sunday. So it's a little extra week, or almost 2 full weeks that will count in the first week of October. So y'all have an awesome day.
Bill, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Just curious if there was enough people that got 50 ads to their database to make that contest of yours work.
Unfortunately, there was not.
Oh, that's too bad.
So maybe it happened, but the numbers were not reported. So we probably will try to do that again soon. Okay. Okay. The size and the relationships that you have with your database are probably the most correlated to the amount of families that you will help and the amount of dollars you will earn. So let's try it again, maybe.
All right. Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Thanks, Candace.
Y'all have a
Appreciate
great
it.
day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.